Good morning. It was a good night last night. Slept pretty well. Not too much rain. It stopped this morning. It's really clear. In fact, I woke up this morning to the moon brightening up my tent. So, time to hit the trail. What a gorgeous morning as the sun's coming up. Wow. I hope you can see the top of that mountain. It's just barely peeking out of the clouds out there. That's really cool. It just keeps getting better. Look at that. Wow. That is absolutely unreal. But yet, there it is. Okay. Just wait for it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then, bam, that is Mount Shasta. And I can hardly see it in my phone. So I hope I'm getting a good picture of it. But wow. I sure say wow a lot, don't I? Wow. Gorgeous. By the way, I will be hiking towards Shasta for a while. I'm not sure how long it'll take me to get there. 2-3 weeks, maybe. Anyway, it is, I believe, in the Lawson National Park, and I won't hike right up to it, I don't think, but I'll get really close to it, where I get better views even than that. So, on another note, it's cold. I was so looking forward to getting down here and having it be warmer. It looked like it was, 10 to 20 degrees warmer. I was looking at the weather there at Crater Lake, waiting for a ride. Yesterday was a little better. It was probably 10 degrees warmer. It was great. And then, of course, last night, I told you already, it was cold. I think it got down to 35, 37, something like that. And it has not gotten out of the 40s today. A couple of times when the sun's come out, like right in the sun, it is, my thermometer will say 49 or 50. But the minute I get into, some heavy bushes or trees or anything, you can see the air temperature 39. It's holding at 39. And it's probably, I don't know, it's probably approaching 9:30 by now. So, I don't know, man. There's not that many clouds. I mean, there are clouds, but not enough that you'd think it would, keep the temperature that much. But anyway, whatever. I'm hoping that it heats up just a little bit this afternoon. It'd be nice if it get in the 50s. Ah, cool. Look what I've come upon. Oregon, California. I will not be back in Oregon anymore for this hike. That's cool. Once again, you don't see these kind of signs out here on the PCT very often that tell you, anything like, how far you are away from long distance things. That's pretty cool to see. Wow. All right. Well, I guess I will actually be back in Oregon because I'm going to step back over to fill out this register and then I'm going to head off. Maybe I'm not all that far out in the wilderness. We got us some cows. Well, I've been hiking for quite a few hours now. And getting close to my last water source. It's still fairly early, but there's not a ton of water from here going into Seiad Valley, which is the next place I resupply tomorrow afternoon. Anyway, it did get a little warmer by the time I was done with lunch around 12:45 or so. It had gotten up to 50 or maybe 55 even. And now it's just at 60, I think. So it did finally warm up a bit. It's been good hiking weather. I sure wish it would stay above, the 30s tonight, but I'm not holding my breath for that. So anyway, it's been an interesting day. There are so many roads up here. You think you're in the wilderness, and then you cross another road and another road and another road. But it's beautiful. And lots of just gorgeous little areas and lots of cow patties. There's got to be cows all over here sometimes. I don't know. I haven't seen many except for that one little bunch out in the field. I was just thinking, obviously I crossed over into California earlier, but I guess it really didn't settle in. All of a sudden, I just kind of thought, oh my gosh, I'm in California, Through Washington, through Oregon, and this is the last bit to do. And then, I started thinking a little more about it, and I realized that Washington is only about 500 miles long, the whole trail, and the trail in Oregon is about the same. And I have got more in California, even though we spent a long time in California. I still have more in California to do than either of those states are even in their total. So I have somewhere around 800. Well, I did have 800 miles. Now I've done whatever I've done, 40 or something. So I got a really long time still. Oh, I think I found my tent spot for the night. I am really tired and I'm going to sleep well. And I get to look at that while I'm getting things set up. All right, good night. Well, my tent kept me nice and dry last night, even though there was no rain. There apparently was a lot of moisture in the air because that's where I was at. And it looks a little different this morning. Got a nice full moon. Some color on the horizon. I'm sure that's from the fires that are still going out there, because that is not where the sun's coming up. Sure is beautiful though. The sun is coming up right over here. Gorgeous. It's a nice brisk morning, but it's nice. It's nicer than it's been. It was in the 40s last night, low 40s, but that was a lot better than the 30s. So, all right, looking forward to a good day getting into Seiad Valley and do some resupply and get back out on the trail again. There is a mountain lion right there. Maybe barely see it creeping up. Oh, dang it. It was right in the trail. And by the time I could get my phone out, it was up there. I know I got just the last little movement of it. Wow. Hey, that's the first time I've ever seen a mountain lion in the wild. That was an impressive looking animal. He took off fast though as soon as he saw me. How cool. I'm sure I won't see him again. It's only 7:40 and I already had to take off all my windbreaker gear, cold gear. I'm sweating up a storm. It's probably a little over 55 now. And that whole last section, right when I left the camp, right after I saw the mountain lion, was just overgrown. A lot overgrown. Like you can't even find the trail in some places. So I kept my jacket and long pants on just so I wouldn't get too scraped up. And man, but then I was cooking. And also lots of down logs. So you're running around them and climbing over them and between them, all sorts of stuff. So spending a little extra energy. Anyway, I think I'm through the worst of it and kind of heading on a downhill path now. So took all that stuff off and whew, feels a lot better. Good morning. I don't know if you can make that out. Yeah. Lily Pad Lake. There you go, Lily. Well, I did not know I would be able to see it, but this is Seiad Valley. And I'm heading down to a tiny little place that, as far as I know, only has a post office and a grocery store and a campground. But that's where I should be here in a few hours, maybe 4.5 hours, something like that. And yeah, I won't stick around long. I'll just get in there and get what I need and eat something real quick and then head out. There should be a campground about 5 miles outside of town. Probably means hiking up that. Ugh. But anyway, that's where I'll be later today. Well, I about ended a poor lizard's life. Ran right under, oh, there's one right now. Ran right under my foot. I mean, literally as my foot was going down. I don't know how I avoided him, but I did. And then it just dawned on me as I saw grasshoppers flying out from under here, my feet as well, that, you know, been transported here. Spent a lot of time a couple months back walking for weeks and weeks through, you know, avoiding grasshoppers and lizards everywhere. Grasshoppers just flinging up all over the place. And now I'm kind of back into that. More grasshoppers, more lizards. And I've been spending the last month or so or more in Oregon and Washington, you know, trying not to step on slugs and and watching chipmunks dart across the trail in front of me. So yeah, back here again. Well, there's the Klamath River that runs behind Seiad Valley. And off, I could see it earlier. I should have viewed it. It's way off there. Maybe barely could see it down in the valley there. But anyway, it's a formidable river. I'm sure there will be a nice bridge for me to go across so I don't have to wade through it. I hope. Well, before I get into Seiad Valley, I wanted to kind of recap the fire closure stuff, or maybe cap it for the first time. I don't know if I've ever made it real clear, but so up in Washington, there's a section between Stehekin and Micah Lake that we're not able to do. It's closed. And so, you know, we hiked in from one direction towards Micah Lake. Then we shuttled up to Stehekin and we kept on going. there was a place in southern Washington around Mount Adams that was closed. And we hiked in from one direction. If you remember from White Pass, we hiked south over Goat Rocks and into Potato Hill, and then did a road walkout. And then later on, after we got to Canada and everything, we went back down to Cascade Locks, Oregon, right on the border of Washington, and we hiked north in and back towards the fire closure. So there were those two sections in Washington that were not allowed to do. Then in Oregon, the only section that ended up being closed, we couldn't do at all, was the section north of Crater Lake. So I had to do that road walk one morning going into the Crater Lake area because I couldn't do that section between Crater Lake and Highway 58. If you remember, Highway 58 is where our friends dropped me off after they came out and hiked with us right when Tiger Lily got off trail. So anyway, that little section in there, we couldn't do. Now, this bit that I'm walking right this minute, this has always been open. This area from I-5, whoop, did I just go the wrong way? From I-5 around Ashland, Oregon, where I just got dropped off the other day by Mary, and started hiking these last 2 days, well, 3 days now. Between there and Seiad Valley has always been open. We just couldn't get here. We couldn't find an easy way to get here to hike it before. When we were skipping to California fire closures, there was a guy that was willing to take a bunch of people up to Ashland. So we just went. So this little bit right here, again, was never closed. I'm just filling in this gap. Now when I get to Seiad Valley, the trail was closed between Seiad Valley and Etna, the town of Etna. And then, without going into all the details, it was closed for a big section, not directly south of Etna, but real close. It was closed for a big section from there down close to Sierra City, where we got off trail and got shuttled up to Ashland. There were some bits and pieces in there that were open, but you couldn't hardly get in to do them, and there was so much smoke you couldn't really hike it. I mean, I certainly couldn't have. I would have been dying out there trying to walk through like really serious smoke, not just, oh, I smell a little smoke off in the distance. So yeah, so that's pretty much everything. So hopefully what'll happen is I'll get down here to Seiad Valley, I'll resupply, I'll head south, and I'll just start picking up all that distance, a lot of what was closed and some of which wasn't, that I haven't done yet, all the way down to Sierra City, and then that will finish all the Northern California stuff. We can't hang on to this middle ground weather for too long. It is now 80 and hot, and I just put on sunscreen for the first time in, I don't even know, a month and a half probably, because the sun is so intense coming off the ground. I know my face is getting burnt. So anyway, pulled out the sunglasses, haven't worn those for a month and a half. Hardly, maybe a couple times, but anyway, back in California. Getting closer. Can even start to make out buildings and stuff. It's only about maybe 1 o'clock, and I wanted to wait to go into town to eat lunch. I was getting a little hungry, and I was going to just get something to tide me over, and then I kind of remembered what I'd said earlier. I think that literally there's only like a post office and a grocery store, so I'm not actually sure there's going to be any food, prepared food of any kind. So I went ahead and stopped and ate real quick, and if there's prepared food, I'm sure I'll figure out a way to fit it in anyway. There has been poison oak lining the trail for a couple of miles now at least, and still another couple of miles into town. I'm sure a lot of people have gotten nailed by that. I mean, it's just everywhere out here. Right here is not so bad, so I can video. There's been a lot of area that's really overgrown. Just plowing right through everything, and it's right there with it, so I don't know. I don't seem to react that badly to that stuff, so I hope I don't. All right, I'm almost here to the highway. So, got to get into town, and then I'm right up here. And then when I head out, I'll probably be staying at that campground tonight. Let's hurry and get there. All right, just a little over 3/4 of a mile to get into the little town and the grocery. And then I'll have to continue on. Not sure how far it is, probably about the same amount heading out of town in this same direction, you know, beyond the town. You have to go all the way out to, I think, to catch the bridge that goes across the river, so I'll be there shortly. Well, the first thing you come across when you're going into town is Wildwood RV Park. And it is, as it sounds, an RV park. It's over here. And they kind of cater to hikers as well. So they've got a special place for hikers, and they've got like a bunkhouse you can stay in. You can also tent there. They have this kind of package for not too much money anyway. You can stay and you can shower, and they make meals for you and do all sorts of stuff. So it does not fit into my schedule to stay or do anything like that. I'm going to be taking a zero in the very next town of Etna here in just a couple of days, so I'm going to keep trucking. I'm going to have to slow down. I'm only allowed to do 40 miles an hour around this corner. I have to cut my speed in half probably. All right, heading out of town. Pretty good little grocery store guy in there, super friendly. So nice talking to him. Had a place for me to charge my stuff, so I got to charge my phone and battery pack a little bit. There were a couple of hikers, actually, surprisingly, outside hanging out, so talked with them a little bit. One guy that's heading southbound also, named Seeker, so I'll probably see him at the campsite later tonight. And then when I was about to leave, about to walk out here just a few minutes ago, that gentleman pulled up. The guy just a few years older than me, and wanted to ask me about the trail, was thinking he might do it. His name's Mike. He just bought a place here, just right up the road here. I'll pass it apparently. Real nice guy. He's an ex-school teacher, and so we had that in common and talked a little bit about that, and yeah, just a super good conversation. So anyway, now I'm heading back out here. It feels like it might be just a tad cooler than it was when I pulled in when it was 90, but not a lot, you know, it might be 85 or something. But anyway, so I got a little ways to go up the road here, and then I'll cross the bridge and come back and kind of walk pretty flat area. It might even be a road walk. Anyway, I've got like 6 miles to this campground, and I won't really even be on the, you know, on the trail till tomorrow. So, but this is all part of the trail, so I'll get there and call it a night. And then I'll have a little less than 50 miles heading into Etna, which will be my next resupply spot. So I'll do that in 2 days. So 2 days from now, in the evening, I should get into Etna, and I'm going to take a zero there. I didn't mention this before. I think I mentioned that maybe my knee and my foot were bothering me a little bit, my ankle. But what happened really is, a few nights ago when I was up at Crater Lake area, and I was up around Mount Thielsen, and it got raining and so cold, and I got a little bit wet, and I was freezing. I was running down the trail. I mean, there was nowhere to set up my tent. I was on the side of a mountain, so I knew I had to get some distance before I was going to find a good place to set up my tent. And also I was really cold, so I was literally just running to stay warm. And I think what happened, I know, every time I do this, the same thing happens. You know, I just pushed myself too hard, and you know, when you got a pack on, all that extra weight, you're trying to run and you're pounding and all that stuff. And sometimes it takes a day or two for it to crop up, but a lot of my muscles are really sore in different places and kind of cramping a little bit even, and real tight, and you know, I just did too much, but I kind of had to. So anyway, blah blah blah, I'm gonna take a 0. I need it. So that's my plan. Enough rambling. Okay, random thought of the day here. I keep forgetting to mention this. Right back around the time that I finished at Crater Lake, when I was out there hitching for hours, you know, I completed 2/3 of the trail miles, the total trail miles of 2655, you know. So it gives me 1/3 left to do at that point. Now I've done another, you know, whatever I've done the last few days, 50, you know, almost 60, no, 55, I don't know. So I'm coming along. Also, you know, I may not do the entire total miles because there's some that's fire closure, so we'll have to see how that works out. This is the Klamath River we saw from up on the mountain earlier. Kind of a cool bridge. There's the river that I crossed a while back and took some video from. Then I had to walk like, you know, another mile down the road that way and then back on this little side road. Well, when I left the general store back there, that guy Mike I was talking about offered me a ride up here, you know, because it's like this 6-mile road walk. I said, no, you know, I'm hiking PCT. I want to hike it all. Thank you, though. And a gentleman just drove by. I'm probably three miles in now to the 6 miles. And he just drove by and said, hey, I'm heading right up to the campground if you want to ride. And he goes, I grew up out here on this road. I see you guys out here all the time. He goes, you all right? You got plenty of water and food and things like that? I said, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hike myself up there, though. So nice people everywhere, all the time. That's funny. I've been walking on road for 5.5 miles. The last half mile, say, careful of hikers on the road. Well, it's a half mile's better than nothing. Alright, I'm almost to the campground. Finally. I'm so bored walking on this stinking road. Once I get here, I'm gonna set up my tent. And I need to go about 1/10 of a mile to the creek to get some water. I probably could do without, but I want to get up early tomorrow. Get going. I don't want to have to do water then. Come back and eat my dinner. Get to bed early. So tomorrow, start the day out with 15 miles of going up 5,000 feet. Actually, yeah. And so I want to get up early and get that going. It's supposed to be hot again tomorrow, probably, you know, close to 90 down here on the ground. You know, that probably means 80 up on the mountain, maybe 75, I don't know. But I want to find out. In 15 miles, actually I have a couple miles to do, I think, before I really hit that climb. So, you know, 17 miles into the day, it's going to be probably well into the heat. So anyway, point is I want to get that done in the morning when it's cool as much as possible. So get everything done tonight, get up tomorrow morning and just start cranking up that mountain in the dark with my headlamp so that I can avoid the heat. Alright, hallelujah. Jeez. What a worthless road walk that was. Okay. Well, nothing I need to worry about here. I'll go set up and then get a good night's sleep for tomorrow. Well, I'm at the campground. I've been walking around for a while. And this is a pretty crappy little campsite. There's like roots and rocks and stuff all under the leaves, but it is literally all there is. I don't even think it's really a campsite. I think someone just kind of made it into that. It's just some random Thursday night. No holiday or anything like that. But there are RVs and campers and tents and stuff all over filling this whole place. So anyway, I hope it doesn't rain tonight because this is like right down in a gully. But yeah, we'll make it work and get up tomorrow and get on out of here.